to left field. There it goes. There goes D. He slides in. He's safe. Well, the roof is now open. The sun is making its way out as Wade LeBlanc climbs the hill for the Mariners. The deciding game of this 3-game series and a week-long homestand with the Blue Jays come to town beginning tomorrow night. But first things first, it is LeBlanc versus Dallas Keuchel, as LeBlanc will face off against this lineup by A.J. Hinch.
A different looking lineup for Houston, and a big reason why is injury. Springer out of the lineup, Correa, Altuve, McCann all on the disabled list. So Tony Kemp is going to lead thing off. Evan Gattis hitting third in the lineup. You want to be careful with him. Wade against Wade, 5 for 8 with 3 home runs on the year. Jake Marisnick just recalled and activated. He will round out the 9 for Houston.
Meanwhile, for LeBlanc, pitched well his last time, although strange to see 3 walks in his last start.
That typically great command for him. 102 2/3, just 22 walks on the year. 82 strikeouts for him. Opponents hitting 244.
First pitch missing to Tony Kemp, beginning things for the Astros today. You mentioned the injury to Springer, Mike, and A.J. Hinch sounded optimistic that this is a day-to-day thing and nothing that would require a DL stint, but they are, it sounds like, trying to stay away from him even coming off the bench today.
Yeah, we saw the shoulder that he ended up hurting diving for a ball last night, and it did not look good. And really, I think the news pretty good for A.J. Hinch when you consider the other names I mentioned that are on the disabled list. And if he's day-to-day, I think that has to be good news for them. He'd like to stay away from him if possible, and the reason being they also have tomorrow off, a scheduled off day, so that'll give him a couple of days for him to heal up.
Appeal on the check swing, he does not go. Welke, our crew chief, umpiring down at third. Well, the Blue Jays come to town tomorrow for the Mariners. Felix on the mound. The Astros will enjoy a day off in Los Angeles. They will have a rematch of the World Series taking on the Dodgers. Bregman, the shortstop, on deck. Strikes out Tony Kemp to begin the ball game.
Able to get him with an elevated fastball. And for the Mariners, some changes defensively. Cameron Maybin. Welcome, Cameron Maybin. He is in center field. Vinci and Romine will be on the corners for the Mariners this afternoon, and Mike Zunino will do the catching.
Now, I thought if you wanted to throw an elevated fastball and get a swing and a miss, Mike, I thought it had to be at 96 miles an hour, not 86 miles an hour.
Makes it easier if you're throwing 96. If you're throwing 86, you better locate it right at the top of the zone and have a pretty good changeup that you can place in the back of the mind of the hitter, and that's exactly what Wade will do this afternoon. Everybody aware of his changeup. I like that he's mixing his curveball in a little bit more too. We've seen that his last few outings with different lineups, the Angels and the White Sox being a little more aggressive, so using the curveball a little bit more. He has the cutter, and he will throw it on both sides of the plate. It's a real advantage for him.
Shift on for Bregman. Swing and strike to make it 1-2. With all the injuries, Bregman has really been the key in this lineup for A.J. Hinch. As the Astros last night snapped their season-long 5-game losing streak. As you might imagine, the offense not clicking quite the same without those big names out of it. LeBlanc's 2-2. A soft pop-up. D. Gordon waits and puts it away. 2 outs. 2 up, 2 down. It brings up Evan Gattis as we take our first look at StatCast AI, powered by AWS. Puts a shift on for the DH. 21 home runs on the season now for Gattis.
Thought it was interesting watching D catch that pop-up on the infield. For most of the day, Aaron, we had the roof closed here, and when they opened up the roof, it was still pretty cloudy, even when the guys were taking the field, and you could see him fighting the sun a little bit.
On the ball, finding the new man. Cameron Maybin is not able to make the catch. Gattis into second base. That's a 2-out double for Gaddis.
Line drive that's knuckling. Primera Supermo going to his knees to try to make the catch.
Well, I don't know. Oh, there you go.
There it is. There it is. So that will be a double.
That's a great angle on it.
Sunglasses on, trying to catch it. You can see his glove, trying to get his glove underneath the baseball right as he's hitting the ground and not able to hold on to it. He will definitely need to use that card in his back pocket. He's joining the Mariners as far as the scouting report for Houston. Let him know where to position himself.
2 outs, Gaddis at second. Here is Gurriel. Cleanup hitting first baseman.
Gaddis is now 6 for 9 against Wade LeBlanc. Again, 3 home runs. There's a cutter inside that he missed with.
And Mike, the importance of the cut fastball for LeBlanc.
Well, there's a couple of things to consider. The cut fastball inside to the right-handers. Typically for Wade, he'll probably miss inside off the plate. Not necessarily trying to throw it for a strike, as you see right there. Then he'll come right back with the changeup. So he missed with the cutter, hoping to get a swing and a miss on the changeup. That's down. Typically for him, he'll start the changeup on the plate. The hitter will speed up a little bit, and then he'll drop down out of the strike zone. And usually get some pretty weak contact on that. But it's just to keep them from leaning out over the plate, sitting on his changeup or curveball all the time, knowing that he wants to throw some off-speed pitches and another changeup. He will do that. He will double up on the changeup, even triple up on it.
And our second pop-up to D. Gordon this inning to end the inning. And Gaddis, after that double, left stranded at second. We go to the bottom of the first, scoreless. Bottom of the first inning as Mike, this Mariners lineup brought to you by Jack in the Box, trying to figure out a guy who's given the Mariners some fits over the years.
He really has. He's one of the premier pitchers, left-handed pitchers. But D. Gordon will lead things off. 25 stolen bases on the year. Puts him at the top of the American League. Hitting third, moving up to hitting third is the DH, Nelson Cruz. 25 home runs on the year. 8 home runs against left-handers. Guillermo Heredia will round out the 9 for Seattle.
And here is Dallas Keuchel coming off a fantastic month of July.
8-9 record, a 3.6 ERA. 135 innings. He has 103 strikeouts.
Keuchel, sad to see the calendar flip to August, as last month 5 starts, a 1.65 earned run average for Keuchel. It was the best in the American League. Only Zach Greinke of the Diamondbacks had a lower ERA of those starters with 5 starts last month. 0-2 on Gordon.
Yeah, he's really pitched well lately, and you mentioned he's going to try to keep the ball on the ground as you take a look at the defensive setup. Davis, the third baseman, playing in, trying to take the bunt away from him, but now with a couple of strikes, back to the dirt. This is something we know about Keuchel, is he will pitch inside. His average fastball just 89 miles an hour. Also has a cutter, but he'll use his four-seamer to pitch in. So the curve and the changeup an excellent pitch. Opponent's hitting just 195 on his changeup.
It's kind of funny, Mike. You bring up the velocity. The last 2 nights, for the most part, we have kind of just been bowing down to these starting pitchers and their velocity. Of course, the Mariners facing the 3rd and 4th hardest throwing starters the last 2 nights. Keuchel, the 7th slowest throwing starting pitcher in all of baseball. One quick skip to Marwin Gonzalez. So we've got the velocity show to now Keuchel at 89.2 and Wade LeBlanc, the slowest fastball of a starter, at 86 and change.
Well, it sounds like there's different ways to go out and pick up some wins in this league.
I would say so.
Yeah, you're right. It's been the dominant fastball for Houston. That's what everybody talks about. But Keuchel, again, off to a slow start this year, but in his last 8 starts, he is 5-1 with a 2.16 ERA, so pitching extremely well. And the big reason why is his fastball. Typically, he will keep it on the ground, use both sides of the plate, occasional curveball, and the great changeup.
Segura, a home run last night. Looks at ball 1.
And I think for a hitter, Aaron, when you mentioned Keuchel and LeBlanc, I think for a hitter, they can be more frustrating than seeing the other guys when you're talking about Paxton and Morton, Cole, the power pitchers we've seen in this series, just because you don't worry about putting them in play and you can't figure out why. It's always off the end of the bat, or they jammed you a little bit, or it's another ground ball out, because you don't worry about putting it in play like you would with the other guys that we have seen. But a lot of them will turn back to the dugout against both of these pitchers. It's a lot of fun to watch them go about their business. That was like a pretty good cut fastball in on Gene's hands.
Well, Keuchel's been around long enough. We've had a chance to talk with Dallas a number of times over the years, and he has told us he really kind of thrives on that. The frustration factor that he can get on 3 weak ground balls in 3 at-bats from a hitter who normally hits them over the fence. And we've referenced it before, the comfortable 0 for 4 that you can suffer facing Dallas Keuchel.
Yeah, and Wade LeBlanc for that matter. I think at times that we can catch them, Aaron, when you see another routine ground ball with a little bit of a grin on their face as the hitters are frustrated running down the line.
Off the hands foul. I mean, think about what we saw from Paxton the other night, from Garrett Cole. You think back to what we saw from Chris Sale at Fenway Park earlier this year. To your point earlier, Mike, if you can just put it in play, you feel like you've accomplished something walking back in the dugout.
You feel like you're giving yourself a chance because they strike out so many batters.
James clearly trying to hide in the dugout, especially with that mustache. Another foul ball.
Either read or saw something this morning with Sale going on the disabled list.
Shoulder inflammation.
Here he is having.
Another 2-2 to Segura. A ground ball. Marwin Gonzalez could be busy today. Back-to-back 4-3 putouts. The rest of the defense for the Astros.
And for Houston, we mentioned Jake Marisnick will be playing center field. Springer out of the lineup after getting hurt. Marisnick just called up and activated Josh Reddick in right field. Pretty good right fielder. Bregman and Gonzalez playing up the middle, and Max Stassi will do the catching for Houston.
Now, speaking of Sale, as it pertains to Keuchel in the month of July, and really terrific starting pitching in the American League, the numbers for Sale, Mike: 4 starts in July. He struck out 43 batters in 25 innings and allowed a single earned run. A .36 earned run average, so you can see what Alex Cora and the Red Sox are losing. Cora, of course, formerly the bench coach for these Astros.
I think it was probably you, Aaron. We were talking about Chris Sale. I think it was even a couple of weeks ago when he was in the middle of this run that you were just talking about, and looking at the numbers and then seeing that typically in his career he has tailed off in the second half, especially the last few months, as Nelson gives this a ride.
It'll look better off the bat than where it will end up. Kemp is there to end the inning. No, you're right. It happened last year and probably cost him the Cy Young. We go to the second, scoreless. Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Country Financial. When it comes to planning for your future, start with simple steps today at countryfinancial.com. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 191, investing in our future. Nice to have some midweek day baseball from inside Safeco Field. Reddick leads it off. It's a ball one from LeBlanc. Reddick with the big 9th inning home run last night for the Astros. They have the shift on for him, the 2-0. Over towards the shift. Romine getting the start at first base. Handles it himself. 1 down. Hope to see you right here at Safeco Field tomorrow. 7:10 is our first pitch time. Of course, the Blue Jays will be in town to begin a 4-game series. Great seats remain, but maybe not for long. Go to Mariners.com to pick up your tickets. See our old friend Justin Smoke in the ballpark. John Gibbons, one of the more entertaining managers in the game. One out here is the catcher Max Stassi. When I think back to Gibbons and the no-hitter by Paxton, keep in mind that the start before the no-hitter. Segura handling this cleanly. Couple of ground ball outs to begin the second. The start prior to the no-hitter for Paxton was the 16 strikeout game against the A's, and Gibbons, when talking the day after the no-hitter, said in a way that only John Gibbons can, in his thick Texas accent, that he had seen tape of the A's game and the 16 strikeouts, and he said all I was hoping to do was get a couple of balls put in play, and we got some balls put in play, and then we got no hit. And you can make the case, and Mike, you and I have talked about this, that that start against the A's was maybe more dominating than the no-hitter, as Marwin Gonzalez shoots this, no doubt. Yikes, off the manual scoreboard. That'll leave a dent. His 7th this year, and it's 1-0 Houston.
And it was on a first pitch fastball at 86 miles an hour. Wade just trying to find a way to throw a first pitch strike to him, and fortunately too much of the plate. And Gonzalez, being aggressive, just lines this fastball over the fence and left, able to keep it fair. For Gonzalez, his 7th home run on the year.
First pitch strike to the third baseman J.D. Davis.
Talked a lot about the no-hitter, and we will again this weekend when James faces Toronto. But I thought the thing that was interesting, to your point here, when you look at the 16 strikeout game, and find a hole on the right side right off the end of the bat. But was listening to James after, and it's something we were talking a little bit last night because of all the velocity we've seen, but James even saying that the life on his fastball was better the night that he had the 16 strikeouts. Even though we were seeing 96 to 98, which was typical with James, but he could tell a difference in it too. And it's just one of those days when it was just something different about that. And I think pitchers go through that over the course of the summer, and he may have 4 or 5 days like that when he has that type of fastball. But he recognized it too, that it was special on the 16 strikeouts.
Marisnick just recalled with the injury to George Springer. Marisnick was really struggling earlier this year. In fact, was optioned down. Two outs, a man aboard. Maybe bitten. Hustling to the track and gone. Couple of home runs here in the second off of LeBlanc. Marisnik a 2-run shot, and it's now 3-0 Houston.
All the 2 outs in the bottom of the lineup. Gonzalez hitting 7th. Marisnik hitting 9th in the lineup. Gonzalez hits a home run on a fastball, and this is on a changeup, 78 miles an hour, again in the middle of the plate. But he drives it out to right center.
Leadoff man Tony Kemp drops the bunt, and a beauty. So 4 straight hits, 2 that did not come back. Coming with 2 outs.
One more time. Show him the ball. Right there.
Well, young Isabella coming up with the home run from Marwin Gonzalez.
Go, man. Let's go loose.
Ryan Healy would be very proud of that shirt that gentleman is wearing.
Yes.
Show him the ball one more time.
He's trying to throw the baseball to you.
These lenses are expensive.
He's trying to throw you the baseball.
What a cutie.
Noel Stottlemyre out at the mound right now having a conversation with Wade LeBlanc. Perfect bunt by Kemp. He's just trying on a firm bunt to the right side, get it past the pitcher. He was able to do that, and it was an easy hit with his speed.
Wade got the first 2 outs on 5 pitches, then the home run, a single, another home run, and a bunt base hit. Up off the hands and out of play. We just saw Romine over at first base, and Healy was a very late scratch from this one. Scratched less than 30 minutes before first pitch. Word coming from the clubhouse. Scratched with lower back tightness. Hopefully nothing more than a day for Healy. Kemp will lead at first. This is clobbered down by the pole. A lot of hook to it, and a foul ball.
And that was on the cutter, and actually a well-located pitch. It was right on the inside corner. As you see Tracer, probably belt high, but on the corner. Bregman having a very good year for Houston. 22 home runs, 71 RBIs.
Off the fist. Heredia coming in, and he makes the catch. Guillermo, one of the best left fielders you'll find in the game when he's out there. And this ends the inning. 3-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the second. Well, tomorrow the Blue Jays come to town. Felix and the Mariners open up a 4-game series against Toronto. First pitch time at 7:10. We hope to see you right here, and especially inside of Kings Court, where tickets are just $34. And of course, as always, include the Kings Court t-shirt. Log on to mariners.com/Felix to pick up your seats. First pitch missing to Mitch Haniger, batting in the cleanup spot today. Haniger, Maben, and Zunino coming to the plate this inning. Two balls and a strike.
And for Mitch Haniger, you can take a look at the spray chart. Pulling the ball a lot this year. And share of base hits back up the middle, but rarely hits the ball the other way.
Lined right to J.D. Davis. Very topical out number one.
Guess you could expect that with looking at his chart. Rivera Supermo, the solid line drive. Unfortunately, it's right at the third baseman. Right on the button.
Nice play by Davis. Well, with one out, it brings up one of the newest Mariners, Cameron Maben, making his Mariners debut today. Now Maben got into town last night, landing at SeaTac at midnight. He's being acquired by Jerry Dipoto from Miami. They were on the road in Atlanta when the trade went down. And a lot of credit, Mike. You can put yourself in this situation as a guy with a family, of course. Maben was on the road in Atlanta. His family, his wife and children, were on the trip with him. When he gets traded, Cameron is given, as any player, more time to report. He's here early, in other words.
Yes, exactly.
And he said, when talking to the media today, that he wanted to make a point to get out of Atlanta and get to Seattle as quickly as possible to meet his new teammates and do, quote, whatever I can to help.
I don't think you can handle that any better. I'm sure his teammates appreciate it. I'm sure he's excited to be here and be playing for something.
Sure.
Outside of his own numbers. And right in the middle of the lineup this afternoon, hitting fifth.
And he draws a one-out walk in his first plate appearance as a Mariner.
Patient at bat.
Now Zunino a night off last night. Chris Herman doing the catching. Day game today. So Mike batting with 1 out and 1 on.
Say the last 4 games he's been a hot hitter. 9 for 14 with a home run and 4 RBIs. This is something that we've seen from him over the last 4 games. He will go to home plate his first time up and take a strike. And then from that point forward be a little more aggressive second, third at bat, and it's really paid off for him.
Time calm. Now, what's the idea behind taking a strike at the surface level? That would seem like a bad idea.
It would, and it's a little bit unfortunate if it's a first pitch strike, because there's a couple of things that he's trying to accomplish. One, he wants to pick the ball up as early as possible, and when you know that you're not going to swing, it really slows down your body, less head movement, so you're going to see it a little bit better. And he picks up another base hit right here. But it really slows the game down for you, especially when you're trying to figure things out, and Mike had been struggling up to that point. And I just think it's a good idea. So you'll see guys that will try that. You'll hear him talk about trying to stay up the middle or the other way. And Mike has talked about that also. But I think more than anything, it is getting to home plate, relaxing, knowing that you're not going to swing the bat. It just slows things down for you. You hope that as you get to the point the strike is thrown, okay, now I need to hit. But you already have that feeling and that thought process, and that'll slow things down. Your head won't move as much, and then you make more contact, and that's worked out for Mike.
He's on base with a single that splits Davis and Bregman. 1 out, 2 on for Heredia. Go back to the catch by Heredia in left field to end the top of the second inning. This was not an easy catch to make at all.
Well, you mentioned it when he's in left field. He's one of the best left fielders, and catch probability at 31%. Covered 64 feet, and a lot of that a hitter with some power that was jammed. He was not fooled on the swing. He had a great break on the ball. Something that we have seen from him this year, and it's a big reason why he's in the lineup today, because LeBlanc is a fly ball pitcher and has some coverage in the outfield right now.
And really a fly ball pitcher to the extreme this year. 1 out, 2 on.
Something you and I were talking about, Aaron, before the game, and looking at the moves that have been made and talking a lot of them, and then Heredia in the lineup today. Looking at his overall numbers, and you looked him up, off to a fast start this year. April and May were pretty good to him, and struggled in June and July. It's down the line. That may work.
Reddick. It is a fair ball. Maben will have to be held at third. Heredia just squeaks it in fair. The bases are loaded with 1 out.
And maybe now that he's going to play primarily against left-handed pitching and not to deal with the right-handers anymore, he'll start to pick up a few more base hits, and not playing every day. And Maven taking a look at it, he has to wait. Reddick's a very good right fielder. He wasn't sure if he was going to make the catch or not. You have to wait to let it hit the outfield rest. Fortunately, it went off the end of Reddick's glove on the bounce, because Mike had started back towards first. He'll move up to second base, and now the base is loaded.
Chance here for Romine. The opposite way for a base hit. Maben comes in to score, and Andrew Romine drives in his first run in a Mariners uniform. The Mariners are on the board. It's 3-1 Houston.
Well, a lot of changes to the lineup, and pays off here in the second inning with Romine, who originally was at third base, moved over to first when Healy was having the back problem, and Vincey ended up in the lineup. But Maben will score. His first game with the Mariners, scores his first run as a Mariner. And Romine drives in his first run.
Another guy making his Mariners debut today. We say hello to Zach Vincey. Very brief time up in the big leagues last year. In his major league debut last season, 9 games with the Reds. Now, Vincey, a premium defender during his time in the minor leagues. Won a Gold Glove at shortstop. The seldom talked about minor league Gold Glove awards.
He is hitting ninth in the lineup, so D. Gordon waiting on deck.
Soft fly ball out towards right center. Marisnik can't make the catch. Vincey drives in the first run of his career. Everybody is safe. Zunino crosses. Zach Vincey making a nice first impression in Seattle. Mariners are within a run.
4 hits in a row for the Mariners. Vincey towards the end of the bat, hitting the ball the other way, head right on it. So Romine and Vincey both at the bottom of the lineup, hitting the ball the other way, just out of the reach of Marisnik. He'll pick up an RBI.
All right, just so we can appreciate the grand scope of this, the 2 runs that were just driven in, the first came from a guy whose last run batted in came in 2017. And the most recent, the first RBI of Vince's career in only his 10th ever big league game.
You mentioned that Keuchel has a Cy Young award. You never know in this game.
Bag still packed for D. Gordon. Lays off the first pitch, ball 1.
Similar though, Wade had a tough time with the bottom of the lineup first time through. 7, 8, 9 hitters scoring for Houston. 8, 9 hitters now driving in runs.
To Gonzalez and a double play. Blink your eyes, the inning is over. Well, the Mariners get 2. Maben and Zunino scoring. Mariners within a run. Within 1 as we move to the top of the 3rd. Well, there's an easy comp here, Mike. Wade LeBlanc and Jamie Moyer, career numbers for both.
Yeah, we've heard this a lot this year, and I think that there are a lot of comparisons. I was a little bit surprised on Jamie's side of things that he didn't throw his cutter more. See 14%, but the rest of the numbers pretty similar to the two, and just great command, a lot of confidence for both of them. It's the curveball from Wade, but a really neat comparison, especially when you look at the overall numbers for Wade this year, coming into the game at 6-1 with a 3.5 ERA, and very similar to Jamie.
2-0 on Gaddis beginning things. Oh, and here's the other kind of comparison between those two guys. For Moyer, who, as we all know, pitched for a while.
Yes.
He really began to take off rather, in the back half of his career. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, in fact, I've talked to Jamie about it, and one of the things that he pointed to was the cut fastball, pitching inside, and how important that was. He's always had a great changeup, but I think when you consider for Wade his fastball at 86 miles an hour and facing the best hitters on the planet every time that he goes out there, you have to be pinpoint. Your timing has to be good. You have to be able to change the hitter's timing. There's a lot of things that go into it that really your margins for error are really not that great at all. In fact, you have very little. And you mentioned Jamie. Jamie pitched for a very long time. But that is part of it. Just, pitching on the edges of the plate, bottom of the zone, pitch inside enough, change speeds, try to expand the strike zone, get him to chase out off the plate. And there's a lot of things that go into that. And I think one thing that Wade even talked about, he was either his last outing or the one before that, was recognizing swings, understanding what the hitters are trying to do, and pitching off of that, and not just going with a blanket. Here's the scouting report. This is what I want you to do. That is adjusting not only inning to inning, but at bat to bat and swing to swing. And I know that Jamie was one of the best at that.
It seems like both guys get better with age. Swing and a miss. Gaddis down on strikes. Second strikeout today for Wade LeBlanc.
And a pretty good changeup at 77.
Now Cameron Maven, as he was packing up in a hurry, Mike, to come to Seattle, did not forget his case of sunglasses, which
is critical.
It is
You're a
critical.
center fielder.
Enough cloud cover right now not to need them. We trust.
I think there is.
The 1-0 to Gurriel. 1-1. Out to Maven. Pretty shallow, actually. This hangs up for Segura. 2 up, 2 down. Well, Mariners fans, save time and money when you use the Link Light Rail to come to your next Mariners game. It's both affordable and, of course, convenient with Safeco Field just 15 minutes from the UW station and 33 minutes from Angle Lake. You can find more information. Just go to mariners.com/go. Two out, bases empty. Josh Reddick, the batter. First pitch, curveball, strike.
Reddick with 11 home runs on the year. Hit a home run, a 2-run home run in the 9th inning last night. At that time, it was just a 1-run ball game.
Reddick, a Gold Glove right fielder. Came up with the Red Sox, then onto the A's, a brief time with the Dodgers. He's had a really heavy power season early in his career. Hit 32 home runs his first year with Oakland. Has never hit more than 20 since then. Full count. Now the A's with an early lead, bottom of the 4th inning. Oakland just a game behind the Mariners in the standings. Strike 3 called on the outside corner. Reddick disagrees, but that doesn't matter much. LeBlanc retires inside in order. On to the bottom of the third, 3-2 Astros. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Segura leads it off. That's strike one from Keuchel. Well, Keuchel has had two very different starts this year against the Mariners. You go back to April, 2 runs over 8 innings. To shallow left. Tony Kemp fights the sun and he makes the catch. 1 out. For Keuchel in his last start against the Mariners, he pitched into the 7th. He went 6 2/3, but he surrendered 7 runs. In fact, he gave up 3 homers. Segura, Zunino, and Seager all taking him deep. Most home runs he had allowed in a single game since 2015. Talk about how much of a ground ball pitcher he is, of course. But for the most part, for Keuchel, that game was an outlier against the Mariners. Prior to that start, he had not given up more than 2 runs against the Mariners in 6 straight starts. You look at his career, 17 starts against the Mariners, 3 runs or fewer in 13 of the 17. Third base side, J.D. Davis gets rid of it. 2 outs. Our CenturyLink What's Next to be announced for John Gibbons and the Blue Jays. Felix up on the mound. Kingsport will be in session. 7th in the first pitch. 6:30 our pregame coverage. Now, Felix was very honest and very candid when talking about his last start, which was a disappointing one. He did not pull any punches. 2 outs for Haniger, who looks at strike 1. And if the Blue Jays rotation holds, I think there's a good chance that on Sunday we will be seeing a former Mariner, Sam Gaviglio, pitching for the Blue Jays these days, albeit a brief time in a Mariners uniform. Pretty quickly, the Mariners retired in order. We've played 3. Mariners within a run as we move on to the top of the 4th inning, the deciding game of this series. The Mariners are trying to snap a streak of 6 consecutive home series losses to the Astros. It dates back to the start of 2016. First pitch in play. D. Gordon, deep backhand. 1 pitch and 1 out. Our Columbia Bank difference of the game, a couple of swings, Mike, in the 2nd inning.
We'll take a look at the bottom of the lineup. Marwin Gonzalez on a first pitch fastball hits it out to left field. 376 feet for Gonzalez, his 7th home run on the year, and then a changeup in the middle of the plate. Jake Marisnick just recalled and activated before the game, hitting 9th in the lineup, a 2-run home run out to center field.
First pitch, ball 1 to Marwin Gonzalez. Gonzalez coming off a career season last year for the Astros, hitting just over 300 and by far a career best power year, an OPS of over 900. 23 home runs last season for Gonzalez. And of course, plays all over the place.
And look at those numbers. Yes, he'd be the best utility player in the American League when you consider he plays everywhere.
For sure. I mean, you could play. There's a chance to play a 4-game series. Marwin Gonzalez is at 4 different positions.
He'll start every game and be somewhere different, right?
Good numbers against the Mariners for his career. Very close. 2-2.
Wade not happy about it. Had him set up away. A couple of change-ups. Set up for the fastball inside.
I mean, every pitcher wants that pitch, but the LeBlancs of the world want that pitch more than anyone.
Talked about a margin for error, and you can see nothing. EQC tracer, nothing in the middle of the box there, and everything on the edges of the plate. And that's the way he typically would go about his business.
Here comes a 3-2. Gonzalez, by the way, looking at his day-by-day this year, has appeared in every position other than on the mound and behind the plate. Another 3-2. Gonzalez, a ride out to left again and crushed. 2 at-bats for Gonzalez, 2 home runs. 3rd home run in total for the Astros today.
And that was on the fastball again at 86 miles an hour.
Davis looks at ball 1. We go back to the homer.
Well, here it is. Fastball middle away out to left center field, 406 feet.
Maven back onto the track, has space. 2 outs. Get Sounder Train and Link Light Rail tickets right to your phone. Paying is easy with the Transit Go Ticket app. I've got some of the crickets out of the bleachers. Good day to be out in the sun. Ball 1, Jake Marisnick, who crunched a 2-run opposite field home run earlier. Wade behind 2-0. So the bottom third of the order has done all the damage so far. Go back to that home run from Marisnik. And we have seen Marisnik look like an all-star.
Yes.
He's never been able to put it together for a whole season. As I mentioned earlier, was optioned down to AAA Fresno earlier this year. Just recalled today.
He's been in and out of the lineup. You mentioned getting optioned out. He has 7 home runs on the year. It's just been his average has dipped a lot. Really good defender. Obviously some pop in his bat. But to your point, Aaron, trying to put it all together just has not happened on a consistent basis.
Vinci stays with it off his hand. Marisnik aboard with 2 outs. It is a base hit.
And Marisnik runs well, and that's why he tries to charge it. Ends up with an in-between hop that goes off the edge of his glove, and still had a chance. And he drops it trying to barehand it. Talking about Marisnik and his ability to run, so I think that was the only chance he had was to try to charge it.
Marisnik at first base with 2 outs. Here is Tony Kemp already for the 3rd time. Looking at strike 1. Well, today a rarity for Wade LeBlanc. You look at his home starts this year. 2 runs or fewer in 8 of his 9 starts inside Safeco Field this season. 4 across so far for the Astros. Smash foul. Looks like the Baller's got a pretty good idea. He's got a plan for where that ball's going. Still 0-2 on Kemp. 1 for 2 today. A strikeout and a bunt base hit. This young man got the last foul ball that way. Romine takes care of it. A runner is left, but a run does cross. 2nd home run today for Marwin Gonzalez. Only the 3rd time in his career with multiple homers in a single game. Sports is brought to you by Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. And by Steel. To find your local Steel dealer, visit steeldealers.com. Cameron Maben a 1-out walk. His first plate appearance as a Mariner back in the second. He leads off the fourth. There's Maben for a brief time, albeit a former Astro, won a World Series last year with Houston, began the season with the Angels. So in his first game with the Mariners, facing his former team.
He showed his numbers this year, 251 batting average, but he has been hot over the last 3 weeks. He's swinging the bat well over 300. He's hoping that that will continue now that he's joined the team.
Maben, 31 years old, from Asheville, North Carolina. Former 10th overall draft pick by the Tigers in 2005. Now playing in his 12th major league season with his 7th big league team. Line to Gonzalez. 1 out. Here comes Mike Zunino. Now, Zunino was part of 5 consecutive base runners for the Mariners in the second. Now the first of 4 straight hits.
Mike with a base hit into left field, and he's swinging the bat well over the last 5 games.
Behind 1-2.
And he thought that last fastball was up out of the zone. Didn't like the call.
Missing to make it a full count with 1 out. Heredia on deck.
Guillermo also had a base hit his first time up. Better fastballs we've seen from Keuchel at 90 miles an hour. His average this year is 89.
Keuchel with the gold on his glove has won that award 3 times. Another 3-2. This backs up Davis. Goes a seed to first. 2 outs. Mariners RBIs matter both on and off the field. For every Mariners RBI during the 2018 season, PACCAR makes a donation to the Page Ahead Children's Literacy Program. The Mariners thank PACCAR for their support in our community. Now, if the season were to end today, the Mariners would be traveling to the Bronx to play the wild card game at Yankee Stadium against New York. That was the place where the Astros were in 2015, the wild card game at Yankee Stadium. Dallas Keuchel, the starting pitcher. Astros winning that game. Right to Bregman. Now for the 2nd straight inning and the 3rd time in 4 frames, Dallas Keuchel retires the side in order. On to the top of the 5th inning. Astros leading the Mariners 4-2 in the final game of this 3-game series before the Blue Jays storm to town tomorrow night. Felix on the mound. Alex Bregman leads things off for the Astros in their half of the 5th.
Bregman with a pop out to second, fly ball to left.
And a really fine catch by Heredia.
This is the difficult part of the lineup. Bregman, Gaddis, Gurriel, Reddick, and a lot of the regulars are on the DL or just hurt.
Bregman says he wears that number 2 for 2 reasons. One, a big Derek Jeter fan growing up, and also was the number 2 pick in the draft overall. And Bregman appears to be one of those guys, and this is a compliment, that because he wasn't the number 1 overall pick in the draft, has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Of Vincey's glove, a fair ball that now kicks. Bregman steams into second base. Leadoff double. Well, meet Mitch Haniger. Less than a week left to donate to Fred Hutch for your chance to meet the Mariners All-Star. Visit fredhutch.org/give.
I think things have worked out for Bregman. I think they've worked out just fine.
I'd say so. And kind of the funny thing about that too is that his rival in the college game was taking a spot ahead of him. Dansby Swanson, who was a shortstop at Vanderbilt. He was a shortstop, Bregman that is, at LSU. One to Gaddis.
Things have worked out pretty well for Dansby Swanson also.
They work out pretty well for almost anybody who comes out of Vanderbilt, it seems like.
It seems that way.
Heredia plays this on a line. 1 out. Well, the Mariners calendar coming up. As we've said, 4 games against the Blue Jays coming up. We'll be seeing James Paxton on Saturday night. Then long road trip, a hot one too. 3 games at Arlington, 4 games against the Astros, and then wrap it up. Big series against the A's as well. And the Dodgers come to town for some interleague play, and we will see the Astros right back here the 20th, 21st, and 22nd for a travel day on to Arizona. A rare visit to Chase Field. That looks like a very favorable schedule, Mike.
That is difficult. We talked about it this month. It's going to be tough for the Mariners. A lot of quality opponents. Arizona in first place in the National League West. But yeah, that's tough.
Now the Dodgers a half game back. Up with the red hot Rockies tied for a half game back as well.
Wade now at 74 pitches, and Nick Vincent getting loose in the pen. Wade works here in the 5th.
Trying to work around that leadoff double by Bregman. There's been a story of home runs today for the Astros, 3 in total. Two and 2. Wade LeBlanc, a former Houston Astro, for a very brief period of time. 4 games, barely 6 innings, but Mikey put the uniform on. For Wade.
When was that?
This was back in 2013.
Okay.
fewer than 150 miles from his hometown of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Off the hands and dumping in for a base hit. Bregman held. One out, runners on the corners.
At this point, everybody aware of the arm for Heredia. Primero Supermo, broken bat base hit into left field. You can see where it jams him. I think most runners probably score on that base hit, but Heredia in left field. Stop sign up right away.
Where's the man applying the stop sign? Gary Pettis was a fantastic big leaguer, but also the father of Dante Pettis, who set the all-time NCAA record. 9 return touchdowns. Set that earlier this year. The great Husky. Made you wait for it, Mike.
Yes, you did.
Dante drafted by the 49ers. And to make that record even better for Dante Pettis, he did it against the Ducks, which adds a little something to it, I would think.
Maybe we can talk to Ryan Healy about that. See how Ryan feels about it.
Pass roll mine. Bregman scores. Gurriel turns towards third and gets in there standing. Runners replaced on the corners. Now 5-2 Houston.
Well, looks like Scott Service is going to make a pitching change. He's on his way out of the dugout. Nick Vincent is ready to go.
A rare tough start at home for Wade LeBlanc. He exits with 1 out and 2 on in the 5th. Astros leading 5-2.
The great thing about day baseball is it's a fantastic excuse to get out of work. Or is it? Working hard or hardly working? It is very difficult to distinguish. The hashtag to use is Where I Root. We'll try to get your photos on the air. A reminder, when you use that hashtag, it does give us permission to use your photos on the air. And Emily, in my happy place right here at Safeco Field. It was a happy and sad place a little bit for today's starter, Wade LeBlanc. He goes 4 1/3, throws 78 chucks. He did get the 3 strikeouts, didn't walk anyone, but the 5 earned runs hurt just a little bit. That's the old guy for the new guy. We go to Mike Blowers and our Beacon Plumbing calls for the pen.
And thank you, Angie. Nick Vincent going to take over. Fastball at 90 miles an hour, cutter, slider, 36 appearances on the year, 4.65 ERA. 31 innings, 29 strikeouts, 10 walks. Opponents hitting .254 against Nick.
Max Stassi, the catcher, the first man for Vincent to face. One out runners on the corners, Gurriel and Reddick. Mariners entering today 4 games outside of the Astros, just a game in front of the A's. Now 2-1. Stassi is twice grounded out. Running out of room. And a souvenir.
Ended up in the second row.
Takes a pretty special trajectory to get a foul ball that close to the screen. They found it. Bounce back. Reddick, the runner at first base after the RBI single. And Mike, I know at least for some point in your career you were a run the bases with the batting gloves clinched in your fist guy.
Yes.
Would you have worn the oven mitt if the oven mitt was available then? Like we see Reddick wearing?
Probably not. No, I don't think so.
It seems like the guys who wear that all wear it after something critically happens to them.
Yeah, and it's typically for guys also that are going to steal bases and are going to dive head first.
No, come on, what are you saying about yourself? You weren't that guy?
I was not going to steal a base unless it was a missed hit and run. And there was a pretty good chance I was probably going to get thrown out anyway. So I just went with the traditional slide. So for the few times that maybe I was going to have to dive back into first base, that's why I had the batting glove in my hand.
This is deep and gone. The 4th home run today hit by the Astros. Stassi with a couple of men on base blows it open in the 5th. 8-2 Houston.
Talked about it at the start of the game with really a lot of there are very good players on the DL or hurt and not in the lineup today, so we certainly didn't expect this, but he squares up a cut fastball dead center field. May have been going back, but just out of his reach. Couple of home runs for Houston out towards center field. This one at 408 feet.
Nothing in 2. That makes for a rough final line for LeBlanc. 2 of those 3 runs charged to Wade, of course. 7 runs, 4 1/3 on 10 hits. Gonzalez has homered twice today. Never has he homered 3 times in a game. Only the 3rd time in his career he has gotten deep more than once in the same game. 1-2 on Gonzalez. Gonzalez hitting both his home runs right-handed. Now switch hitter batting lefty. Goes chasing for that one. And a much needed out number 2. Here comes J.D. Davis. Well, the 4 home runs have come from the bottom 4 in the order. Facet, Gonzalez twice, and Marisnik. Deep to right, but not deep enough to end the 5th. A 4-run inning for the Astros as they now lead 8-2. Astros on a beautiful day from inside Safeco Field. You might have noticed a different voice here inside the ballpark.
First baseman number 7, Andrew Romine.
We welcome once again Katie Segoya into the ballpark here at Safeco Field. The second time this year she has filled in for Tom Hutler. Sounding fantastic. You probably also recognize her voice. She is a local voiceover artist.
And happy to be on TV.
Hello, Katie. And you've heard her voice many times over the years. She has been one of the great voiceover artists on the Mariners radio commercials and grew up a huge Mariners fan. So this is really
great.
A thrill of a lifetime for her. Romine leading things off. And she tells a story. We had a chance to meet her and get to know her just a little bit when she last filled in for Tom Hutler. And she said that when she was here at the ballpark, she met with Kevin Martinez or Greg Green. It might have been Gigi. And they said, well, why don't you come over here in towards the control room? And they were meeting over on the front office side of things. And they sat her down where you just saw her. And they put a piece of paper out in front of her. And they said, why don't you just, let's flip this microphone on here for you.
See what you have.
Just read a couple of things. And she really did not know this was coming at all. And no surprise, she sounded terrific. And then the ask was made, hey, if we have a need, would you ever like to pinch hit for Tom Hutler? Yes, I would be happy to do that. It's good to have Katie back at the ballpark.
That's great.
Vincey making his Mariners debut today. Drove in the first run of his young big league career in his last at bat. And you know, when I think of Tom, whose voice is one of the most recognizable, of course, in Mariners history. I think back to Griffey's Hall of Fame induction day in Cooperstown when he was there, and he was in the great open field in Cooperstown on that warm Sunday afternoon. Off the fists and catch made by Bregman. 2 outs. It was Hutler sitting amongst a throng of Mariners fans who stood up and in a voice I will not even try to imitate, the voice of God, did the entire intros just like he would at the Kingdome or at Safeco Field, introducing Ken Griffey Jr. like he was taking an at-bat. And of course,
I remember those days well.
All of the Mariners fans in his area were thrilled by it. In fact, Hutler even in Cooperstown gave, I don't know, seminars, not the right word, but he spoke in the museum about his time as the Mariners PA announcer. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
he was
great
asked to
for
do
him.
that.
But he was thrilled to do that.
Well deserved.
Yes.
Top of the order, D. Gordon looks at strike 1.
It's interesting when you were talking about Katie and getting her opportunity to do this now. And remember all back in the day, Shannon Dreyer, the way that she ended up getting started, she won a contest.
Yeah, you're right.
Doing the same thing, just reading a piece of paper, and she wins a contest, and the next thing you know, she's covering the Mariners. How about you?
Oh, I paid somebody. Robbed a bank. Yeah, a lot of money. A lot of money. Well worth it, might add.
So going into college, this is what you wanted to do?
At the very end of college, I realized this is what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I was in a tiny little town in Rhode Island calling AAA baseball, and a job opened up in Seattle, a city I'd never been to in my life. And I said, well, there's no way I'm getting that job, but all I'm out is the postage, so I might as well send a CD.
There you go.
Still a ball and 2 strikes to D. I know Kevin Kremen was the master recruiter for Mike Blowers up in the booth.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, but yes, Kevin. He just I was in the clubhouse and getting towards the end of my playing days, and he just asked me what I was going to do, and I told him I wasn't sure, and he said, what about some radio? Want to do some radio? I'm, oh, okay. Why not?
Sounded pretty passionate about it. Here's Bregman, circles over to it. Let's get rid of it quickly. That is 10 in a row sat down by Dallas Keuchel. Two Astros leading. Well, your next chance to spend your workday right here with the Mariners inside Safeco Field is Wednesday, August 22nd. The Mariners host these Astros once again at 1:10. So round up your friends, clients, and coworkers. Head over to mariners.com to pick up your tickets. Number 9 hitter Marisnik looking at strike 1 from Vincent.
Marisnik just recalled and hit a home run his first time up. Home run to center field. Also has another base hit to go with it.
Now really, Mike, when we talk about how people got into this business, and we've already mentioned Kevin Kremen.
Yes.
Hardly anybody has a better story than Kevin himself. as Kevin, the Okie that he is, a Tulsa native, made many trips as a young man and even into his adulthood to Kansas City to watch the Royals, the closest big league team. And through this and that, he got to know Dave Niehaus when the Mariners would be in town. And Kevin was not the producer engineer that he became so iconic for. He was just simply a guy who could push record and hold a microphone. And they asked a young Kevin Crimmon to just go inside the other clubhouse after a game. Don't say a word. Just press record and put a microphone in the skipper's face and bring the tape back up to the booth.
The reporters will ask the questions. Yes.
Just tuck your shirt in, be presentable, and don't say anything. And no surprise to both of us, we know Kevin very well. Dave and company fell in love with him. As Maristic swings and misses around number 1.
Good elevated fastball from Nick.
And not only is Kevin very personable, great to get along with, but he just so happened to know where all the best barbecue places in Kansas City were.
Helpful.
Which apparently made him even a better friend to Dave Niehaus. And when the job opened to come be the full-time producer engineer in Seattle, Dave called Kevin, said, if you wanted, the job is yours. And Kevin, who was, let's just say, working a job not quite as glamorous as a major league radio producer engineer in Tulsa, Oklahoma, said, you bet I want it. So he and his lovely wife Margaret packed up a U-Haul truck, and honest to goodness, as they were pulling out of the driveway, broken bat from Kemp, Heredia dashing in, carbon copy of an earlier catch by Guillermo. First he robbed Bregman, now he robs Kemp. 2 outs. He got a phone call from the station general manager who said, I don't know who you are, but I'm sorry, we actually have a radio station employee who actually knows how to do this job as opposed to you, and we're going to give it to him. And Kevin said, well, I don't know who you are. I've got a wife and a U-Haul truck packed and ready to go. I'll see you in Seattle.
That's not surprising either.
So they drove through the night and the job was his. And for Kevin, this is his first year in retirement, as many people know. It is incredible to think that he was the Mariners producer engineer on radio for 35 of the first 40 years of the franchise.
Yeah. Sat right next to Dave Niehaus all those years.
Over 3,000 games for Kevin in that chair.
Now, you mentioned that Kevin is retired, and unfortunately for you, when we make our trip to Kansas City, you have to get on the plane with a crate of barbecue sauce.
It's the greatest.
To bring it back to him.
Never have I been Blostradamus. Like when I said to the guys, I wonder if today will be the day when Kevin texts me with his Gates barbecue sauce order. And sure enough, within about half an hour, bing, bing. Let me bring an extra carry on here. 2-2.
And the good news is we still see Kevin from time to time. He shows up, and I guess he's a substitute.
He is.
Part-time.
The shift is on here for Bregman. And on the hands.
Good inning.
It was a good inning. 1-2-3. Vincent working quickly. Make our way to the bottom of the 6th. We're seeing Segura and then Nelson Cruz, followed by Mitch Haniger. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Money Tree, proud to make a donation to Mariners Care for every Mariners win. By Jack in the Box this season, a Mariners double play means free jumbo jacks from Jack in the Box. By CenturyLink, connecting you to the power of the digital world. And by BNSF Railway, sponsor of the BNSF Blast. Strike one to Segura, leading things off for the Mariners at the bottom of the sixth. Gino for two, ground out and a fly out. Well, the Mariners are trying to snap a run of 10 consecutive hitters retired by Dallas Keuchel.
We talked about Keuchel, and he's been on a good run lately. 2-1-6 in his last 8 starts. And his command has been excellent. Was able to get to him in the second, and it started with a walk, and then was 4 straight singles at the bottom of the lineup. Romine and Vinci are the ones with the RBIs in this game. A foul ball off the ankle.
Clock foul, still 1-2. Top 4 hitters in the lineup today, 0 for 9 against Keuchel. He has handled Gordon, Segura, Cruz, and Haniger so far. And one of the new faces of the bullpen, Adam Warren, getting loose. He'll be making his Mariners debut.
Good battle going on. Talking about getting into the game just to finish things up. Rick Riz is one of the better stories too. Southern Illinois college team goes to the College World Series. Rick, who was, he'll tell you, was pretty good second baseman on the JV team, so he was calling some of the games. Gets a phone call from a friend. Wasn't sure what to do about it, but his friend was one of the executives, if you will, for a AA team in Louisiana. So Rick ended up, as he tells it, packed up his '71 Maverick with bad brakes, jumped in the car, drove across country. He said when he was there to go call the games. Next thing you know, he was doing the laundry, shining the shoes, doing a little bit of everything, selling sponsorship and calling the games. He said 44 years later, he's still here.
Just in time, J.D. Davis over to Gurriel for round number 1. Let's go back to last night for a moment. The question was asked, remember you can use the hashtag AskRoot, what happened to Nelly's face guard?
Yeah.
And we sent our own investigative reporter on the scene. Jen, what do you have?
Well, I know that Nelly is a very routine-driven person. He has a reason for doing what he does, unless it has to do with his batting helmet. So when I asked him about it, he goes, I needed a change. And he couldn't quite remember the date that he decided to take it off. But we determined it was a couple of weeks ago. And Aaron, I don't want to go out on a limb here, but I did notice that his home run total picked up after he took the additional protection off of his helmet there. So as long as he doesn't lean into the plate, I think we're okay on this.
All right, needed a change. This is a very baseball player-like answer, I must say. Thank you, Jen. And Cruz, a line out to left. Adam Warren better watch out. It's gone.
On cue.
Nelly's
Very nice.
26th of the season.
Jen talking about his home run total, and you can add to it. Screaming line drive into the bullpen. Nelson now with 5 career home runs off of Keuchel. That's the most for any player. 9 home runs against lefties this year. Primera Supremo, and the powerful swing, barreled up, line drive. A high fastball.
That snaps 11 in a row retired by Keuchel. We take another look. Nothing to 2 to Haniger. And to center field for a 1-out base hit.
Trying to fight their way back into this one.
And be sure to stick around after the game. We'll have Mariners post-game presented as always by Alaska Airlines. We'll be hearing from Scott Service as we always do. 1 out, a run in, and a man aboard. Here's Cameron Maben. Now, I think I am most excited to talk to Cameron about his time as a kid in Asheville, North Carolina, where he was a bat boy for the Asheville Tourists. We'll have to find out more about this. Off the hands of foul. The whole minor league bat boy turned decade-long big leaguer seems like a pretty great story.
You're probably right about that. Probably helped him along the way too, spending a lot of time at the ballpark.
Sure. 1-2. Maben signed as a free agent with the Marlins this offseason. He was acquired by Jerry Dipoto for minor leaguer Bryson Brigman and some international slot money. Mariners, as you remember, built up a pretty large cachet of international slot money, about as much as they could legally under the rules, and the hopes for Ohtani. So when that did not work out, Jerry Dipoto was left with a little bit of a savings account there in that regard, able to use it in part for this.
Let's hit him on the elbow pad. Little lineup making Keuchel work here. 6th inning.
Sliced into right, and Cameron Maben collects his first hit in a Mariners uniform and pushes Haniger in towards third. He gets there standing. The Mariners stacked 3 consecutive hits with 1 out against Dallas Keuchel at the bottom of the 6th.
And this is just a classic inside out swing. It looked like a cut fastball on the inner half of the plate. A little bit of a late swing. It's enough of the barrel to it. You can see the ball spinning sideways. Slicing base hit for Maben. Good to see. Mike Zunino 1 for 2. Had a base hit and scored a run in the 2nd inning. Also grounded out the 3rd.
1 out, runners on the corners.
Keuchel at 85 pitches. Nobody getting loose in the bullpen. And a good pitch for Mike to hit the top of the zone.
Shift on for the 1-1. A strike. Keuchel not quite as many double plays as you would think this year for as many ground balls as he spins. Only 10. 3rd best ground ball rate in the majors. I mean, you compare that to last night's starter for the Mariners, Mike Leake, who's been near the very top of the game in terms of double plays turned behind him with 20. Marco Gonzalez right there in that neighborhood as well.
You look at the Mariners that have picked up hits, for the most part they have stayed in the middle of the field or the other way because of that ground ball rate. Trying to pull the ball, you'll be in trouble.
Out at second. Stassi getting the start today behind home.
Well, it's going to be a ball in the dirt, and Maben takes off, and it's just not very far for Stassi. Just dives right next to him on a strong throw. Tries to pull his hand back. Well, that was close. So that was a lot closer than I expected it to be. Looked like his hand maybe came off the base. Thought maybe he was able to reach the base, but there it is, his hand off the base, and he kept the tag on him. And that was the difference.
And Zunino swings and misses, and within the span of 2 pitches, 2 outs. We've played 6. Nelson Cruz connecting on home run number 26 this season. It comes off Dallas Keuchel. The rubber game. Mike, we look now at T-Mobile's built for baseball, and plenty of home runs today for the Astros.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're going to end up hitting 4 home runs. Gonzalez, the first of 2 home runs for him. Marisnik just activated, called up and activated today with a home run. Second home run right here for Gonzalez out to left field towards the back of the bullpen. And then Max Stassi, the catcher, with a home run to center field.
Making his Mariners debut, we welcome to town Adam Warren, acquired by Jared Dipoto from the Yankees a day before the deadline.
Having a good year with New York. A 2.7 ERA, 37 strikeouts in just 30 innings. Opponents hitting .228 against him. Fastball at 92 miles an hour, primarily a slider, but he will mix in a changeup and a curveball.
Evan Gattis doubled in the first, leads it off.
Starts him off with a slider on the outside corner.
Now Warren, born in Birmingham, Alabama, went to high school in North Carolina, went on to pitch his college ball in North Carolina as well for the Tar Heels, Chapel Hill. Seegers College, of course. And then turned out to be a 4th-round draft pick by the Yankees. Guy with some postseason experience. Pitching in last year's postseason for New York. Lined into right field and a base hit. Fair ball. Gattis hunts his 2nd double of the day as Haniger digs it out by the corner. 2nd double for Gattis. That's how we lead off the 7th.
Ends up hitting a pretty good pitch. It's a fastball that's well off the plate away from him. Ends up hitting it the other way for a double. Fastball was 91 miles an hour.
Batter aboard for Yuli Gurriel. That'll bid you back.
And another fastball. This will straighten him up. Tell you, Aaron, it is so strange when you're a player and end up getting traded and you walk into the clubhouse for the first time, and especially for Adam getting into the game. Maven also getting the start today, and you may know a couple of the guys. Really, you think because you're playing against these guys all the time that you know everybody. That is not the case, but it's just a strange feeling for them. It probably takes a day or two to get settled in. Pretty good battle going on right here. It's a good slider on the outside corner again.
I do find it a little amusing for Brian Cashman and the Yankees, who have built kind of the ultra bullpen now. Adam Warren having a really good season.
I saw the numbers: 2.7, 37 strikeouts in just 30 innings. Yeah, he's having a terrific year.
And he gets the call from Cashman, and we have too many relievers.
We've run out of room.
Yeah, sorry, you've been squeezed out. You're going to Seattle.
Well, I think it'll be a plus for the Mariners. It's a pop up right here. Segura will take it.
Get home field advantage on Silver Bullet Saturdays. Download the Coors Light Rewards app and start earning points towards rewards like Mariners tickets and Coors Light Cure while supplies last. Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. The Yankees essentially have 3 all-star closers. David Robertson, a former all-star, not as a closer, but was an all-star a number of years ago. Zach Britton, for the time being, was simply the best closer in the game, and no one throws harder than Aroldis Chapman.
Betances ever been an all-star?
He has been an all-star. So you're saying I should expand the list to 4?
I'm saying that you can.
Betances, who has been an all-star each of the last 4 years before this season.
He was struggling earlier this year, but it's much better. Great stuff.
I mean, he struggled really with his command last year. In fact, he even struggled with his command in the all-star game. But he's got a vicious curveball. We know about his fastball. And the Yankees, Mike, I don't know if the trend has continued this year. I would kind of assume that it has, but the Yankees cut from a similar cloth as these Astros, a team that by and large their pitchers throw more breaking balls and fastballs, despite having pitchers who have some of the most feared fastballs in the game.
Yeah, well, it's really worked out for them. I thought you and I were talking about this probably it was a week ago, Aaron. We thought that there were going to be a lot of relievers just because of the way the teams are right now, and teams that have a chance, and a lot of teams that are out of it. And that certainly has been the case. teams that are in it trying to strengthen that bullpen, and that's probably a good idea.
Still 2-2.
Houston 3 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Reddick with one of those hits drove in a run.
Warren has primarily spent his entire career with the Yankees. It's kind of interesting the way that it worked out. Warren was traded from New York to Chicago to pitch for the Cubs, and then the Cubs traded him back to New York. Warren was a part of a couple of really notable deals. The trade to Chicago, then the trade back. It was back in the winter of 2015 when he was dealt in the Starlin Castro deal. Oh, good nifty snare there by Romine at first base as Reddick doesn't tip the cap. He gives a point with the barrel of his bat. 2 outs.
And he squares it up. Roma in the right spot. Still a quick reaction overall.
Brings in Max Stassi. Warren was, by the way, later traded back to New York in the Aroldis Chapman deal, and he was joined in that trade by a guy the Yankees are happy to have, although he's been a little banged up, Labor Torres, their young second baseman. Check swing, appeal, ball 1. Off the plate, Warren behind 2-1. Stassi, a 3-run home run in the 5th inning, his 8th this year. Two outs, Gaddis at second. And now 3-1. Pushes it full. Two out, 1. Stassi on base for the second time.
And having to throw a lot of pitches. 22 pitches so far in the inning.
Second baseman number 9,
Marwin Gonzalez. A couple of home runs this afternoon for him. He has 8 home runs on the year. Switch hitter, hit them both right-handed.
Strike 1. If you look ahead to that Blue Jays series, Felix on the mound tomorrow night. And then Marco, James Paxton on Saturday, Mike Leake on Sunday. And we will be seeing the return. The prodigal son, Sam Gaviglio, comes back on Sunday to face the Mariners.
Sam 2-4 with a 5.1 ERA.
Oregon State product. Time call. Now Sam drove a truck when he was with the Mariners, and a lot of guys drive trucks, Mike, and they're nice looking trucks. Sam's truck was a truck. I mean, that was a working man's truck. And I asked Sam, what are we hauling with this? And he said, let's just say this truck's been put to work over its time. There was no shine on this one. A little bit of rust, some mud drying on the side.
It's all right.
Gets them from point A to point B, and it sounds like on some rainy winter days in Oregon, that is how that truck got a car wash. Good to see Sam once again. Wasn't with the Mariners too long, at least at the major league level.
When we were in Denver, I heard that Charlie Blackmon is similar.
Charlie, there's no one quite like Charlie Blackmon. He is driving the same Jeep Grand Cherokee.
That's what it was, a Jeep.
That he has had like since college. And as you know, he signed a, let's call it a fairly lucrative extension this winter, and he's still in the Jeep.
Gets him from point A to point B.
At this point, you've been driving it long enough. You can't change now unless that thing dies on you. Strike three call. Gonzalez caught looking. And a lengthy inning comes to a close. Well, the roof was closed for all of the early festivities before first pitch. It has turned out to be a beautiful day here at Safeco Field. Mariners with 3 runs so far against Dallas Keuchel, who is not surprisingly, might pitch very well today.
6 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, all of them earned, 1 walk, couple of strikeouts. He's thrown 90 pitches. His season high on the pitch count is 111. Brad Peacock is getting loose in the pen for Houston.
You know, Keuchel has been kind of a poster child during these glory days for the Astros, but Keuchel, one of the few guys who was around for the really lean years for Houston, as he pours over strike 1 to Heredia. And the Astros, if you remember, suffered 3 consecutive 100 lost seasons. And Keuchel was there, if you can believe this, for the worst of those three. 107 losses in 2012, 111 losses the next year in 2013. Keuchel drafted and developed by Houston. But he really went on to have what turned out to be a career year. It will be a tough one to match in 2015. Cy Young, the Gold Glove, and started for the American League in the All-Star game that year.
I think they saw all of that in him in 2012.
He was good. I don't know if they thought he'd be that good.
They were losing 107.
I guess it is considered a rebuild. Heredia is at number 1, not surprisingly, on the ground.
Guillermo 1 for 3 today.
Now that year, Keuchel over 230 innings. He led the American League. An ERA underneath 2.5. A whip that a reliever would love to have, barely at 1. And in his 33 starts, Keuchel went fewer than 6 innings one time. And maybe most incredibly about that season for Keuchel, in a very hitters-friendly ballpark in Houston, a 1.46 earned run average. Davis, tricky throw and a stretch on the other end by Gurriel. Davis takes a hit away from Romine.
This is a great play. The backhand, that's probably the easy part of it, and that's not easy at all. Gets rid of it quickly. A fairly accurate throw when you're running out of foul territory, and pretty good stretch by Gonzalez. Good play by Davis. And you were right about their ballpark.
And now, Mike, you know how I feel about wins and losses for a pitcher. But even with that being said, 15-0 at home that year. Mincy into left field.
The second hit.
And his Mariners debut, 2 for 3 with a run driven in. Well, it's a whole new ball game with RBI Baseball 18. This game delivers an all-new franchise mode and much more. RBI Baseball 18 is available now at RBIGame.com. Rated E for everyone. Two outs, the inning extended for D. Gordon.
Keuchel approaching 100 pitches, 97 pitches now. D is 0 for 3. A couple of groundouts lined out to the second baseman. Hit the ball hard, but unfortunately ended up being caught.
Ground ball to Marwin Gonzalez to end the inning. Now Keuchel 3 runs over 7 frames. We go to the 8th. Astros leading.
Is playing here on the 8th and 10th of August. I'm going. All right, between now and then, just to help get you ready for the concerts, you can get a one-of-a-kind Glassy Baby candle holder. They're available now at the Mariners team store, and you've got 3 different colors to choose from: Given to Fly, Home Run, and True Blue. They're between $50 and $75, and 10% of each sale goes to White Light Fun, Mariners Care, or Pearl Jam's Vitology Foundation. Visit Mariners team store now to pick up one. And one more time, Pearl Jam playing here at Safeco Field on August 8th and 10th. Guys, I'm so sorry that you won't be able to go like me.
Yeah, those never seem to work out well for us. Looks like I would not expect the Pearl Jam Glassy Baby combination, but it looks like it's working out well. James Pazos pitching on consecutive days. That said, Pazos just faced one batter in last night's contest. He works here to begin the 8th, making his 42nd appearance of the season. He's hardly walked a man all year. Just the 6. J.D. Davis, who made that fantastic play at third, leads it off for the Astros. Smoked by the foul pole, and a foul ball.
Pretty good fastball right on the inside corner. Houston's been pretty aggressive today, especially on the fastball. And that fastball with a little more on it at 94.
In the dirt, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Think there'll be many trades in August? You have to clear waivers in August now.
You know, I was thinking about that today with the Blue Jays coming to town. And remember,
that's how Houston picked up Verlander last year was in August. Yep.
And how the Astros got Maben was in August as well last year. Just wanted to ask Jerry this, as Josh Donaldson has been a name that has circulated in trade rumors for a long time, even well before the deadline.
I heard it again this morning.
But as he's on the deal, I don't believe you can be placed on waivers when you were on the DL. So to get him healthy and active, I believe that is correct.
I think that's correct.
I wanted to ask Jerry about that.
Is he on a minor league rehab yet? Do you know?
I do not know, but he's been down for a long time.
Yeah.
Here's Marisnik. You know, with all the trades, it does bring up the interesting conversation point of kind of how you get from point A to point B. And Dan Shulman, who is one of the great baseball broadcasters, many years the voice of Sunday Night Baseball, and now has taken on more games with his hometown Blue Jays. Dan does a wonderful podcast, and they just recently came out with the Hall of Fame edition episode of his podcast, where they talk about a whole bunch of guys, including John Smoltz. And I was listening to it on the way to the ballpark this morning, Mike, and when he was talking about to Smoltz about his time, a lot of people forget he was drafted by the Tigers.
Right.
Was even up with the Tigers, and he was a kid from Michigan, so that was kind of a dream come true, as you can imagine. But John said,
Doyle Alexander he was traded for to the Braves?
Second level, I don't know.
Yeah, but I believe that is correct. But anyway, continue.
He said that when he was traded, Mike, he got in his car as Marisnik strikes out, and he drove something like 12 hours, 15 hours to get to where the Braves were from where the Tigers were. His dad, as he told the story, offered to fly to where John was to be a part of the drive. And this was one of the only times in John's career where he wasn't pitching particularly well. And he told his dad, I need those 12 hours to clear my head. So he drove solo. And it got me thinking, I know that teams used to fly commercial, right? Things have changed. Things have gotten better in many ways.
Sure.
I mean, was this a thing?
It was a thing.
Congratulations. You've been acquired by the Braves. Here's a gas card, if you wouldn't mind.
No, I think if he wanted to fly, he probably could have, but he probably wanted his car and all of his things and knew that he could get there in 12 hours, as you say, so he decided to drive. And he needed to clear his head.
He needed to clear his head.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to deal with airport security.
And it probably wasn't a 71 Maverick with bad brakes. It's probably a little better than that.
Nothing to 2 on Kemp.
I was just told he reported to AAA Richmond.
Well, the drive to Richmond is a beautiful one in the summer.
Well, regardless, I think the drive and clearing his head obviously helped the Hall of Famer and the Braves.
You're right.
It all worked out.
You know, when Moustakas was still somewhat recently traded from Kansas City to Milwaukee, Brett Phillips, an outfielder that the Royals got in return, part of that package, flew commercially to Kansas City, and in addition to having flight delays that turned out to make it a 12-hour travel delay, the airline lost his bats as Kemp goes down swinging.
That's a problem.
Now
you may not think so. Okay, so you know
there are 100 bats around.
Yeah, in Kansas City, sure, but they're not his bats, and usually players are pretty particular. That was probably an issue. Might have taken him a couple of days to get another bat order.
As the airline representative kindly says to him, well, I can offer you 2,500 frequent flyer miles as payment for your lost bats. 0-1 on Alex Bregman.
Well, I've talked about it before. It's just a strange feeling. I know for myself, I was in Chattanooga in AAA. I was playing for Indianapolis, but we were in Chattanooga. And we call in the middle of the night. You got to get to the clubhouse at the ballpark. At that time, the ballpark.
This is the part that I just can't believe. Like you're breaking into the ballpark. You're calling a clubby to say it's whatever time of the morning. What was it?
Let's call it midnight, 1 o'clock.
Well, so there could be a clubby still there.
He lived there.
This is called a studio apartment in the clubhouse.
Yeah, you've seen the movie Bull Durham. That's what the ballparks were like back in at that time. But yeah, and then I jumped on a plane and flew into New York. And it happens quickly. Things change, quickly. It's amazing, really. So a little unsettling, but I always appreciate these guys that really make an effort to get to their clubs as quickly as possible. Sometimes you have family circumstances that you have to deal with too, but I think it's important. So you mentioned Maben getting in at, what was it, midnight or 1 o'clock, traveling across the country to be here for the game today. Go sleep well tonight.
I'm guessing you did not have a chance to say goodbye to many of your teammates in that situation.
No, did not. I'm trying to think about it. I think Mason was probably just my roommate at the time. The only one.
Yes, minor leagues roommates.
Yes, exactly. Everybody has one.
Off the hands. Soft pop up. Segura with the sun in his eyes makes the catch. That ends the top of the 8th. We go to the home half.
Now, personally, I think coming to watch the Mariners at Safeco Field is like a 81 days a year kind of event. But for Caitlin, it's once a year, and that's okay too. Annual Mariners game with my dad. Use that hashtag where I root. We'll try to get your photo on, and congratulations. She says she's at 37 weeks. And then Jeff is here checking out the game with Brady, just watching the Mariners. And finally, Cheryl, enjoying a game with my mom, still going strong. 9 decades in. That is absolutely fantastic. One more time, the hashtag is where I root. Well, today's starter for the Houston Astros, Dallas Keuchel, is done after 7 innings. Is right there at the century mark at 99 pitches, and he allows the 3 runs and scatters 8 hits. Guys, back upstairs to you.
Thank you, Angie. Brad Peacock, the new pitcher for A.J. Hinch.
43 appearances, a 3.15 ERA, 64 strikeouts in 45 2/3. Opponents hitting just 206 against him.
Foul
Surprised that Segura is being aggressive. It's typical for him. Fastball, slider, his average fastball, 93 miles an hour. Juan Nicasio getting loose in the Mariner pen.
Now for Keuchel, with those 3 runs today, that's now 14 times in 18 starts against the Mariners in his career, allowing 3 runs or fewer.
I saw his line. Pitched ahead. Throughout the entire game, 28 batters, 20 first pitch strikes for Keuchel, which is a real advantage that he could get to his changeup, curveball.
Peacock strikes out Segura. Out number 1, bottom of the 8th inning. Well, the Mariners Team Store Fan Dream Stakes contest is going on now. If you stop by any of the 5 Mariners Team Stores to sign up, you're automatically entered to win one of 10 terrific prizes, including authentic Mariners apparel, a photo with the player, or even the chance to throw out the first pitch. Stop by a Mariners Team Store to enter. It was fun on the last road trip, the 3-game trip in Anaheim, to run into Dontrell Willis.
Yes.
Who was subbing on TV for the Angels.
Yeah, Mark Gubicza was back in the Hall of Fame with Guerrero going in.
There you go. And we had a chance to catch up with Dontrell for a little while, and we were asking him about his rookie year. He was 21 years old. He won the Rookie of the Year in the National League, and the Marlins won the World Series. And we just simply asked him, what do you remember the most about your first year of the big leagues? And without a blink of an eye, he just simply said, the food. And our comment about roommates made me think of that.
Yeah,
it's a little different.
It's a lot different. The plane flight, hotel, all of that. It's pretty amazing, though, to be a rookie and have that kind of a season.
He was the first right away.
He was, and unfortunately he had some injuries early in his career, but he not only was really good, but he was just a lot of fun to watch.
The 1-2 to Nelly. Resnick over towards the gap. 2 outs. Well, and think about this for a second. You have a 21-year-old Dontrell Willis, and you have a 20-year-old Miguel Cabrera. Now the same team won the World Series as pups. And Cameron Maybin, I believe, was in the trade that sent Willis. Let's see, Willis and Cabrera were traded to Detroit. And Maybin in return. Ball 1 to Haniger. Gets a piece, fouls it back. Two outs, nobody aboard, 1-2 to Haniger.
Good slider.
Peacock retires the side in order. On to the ninth. Ninth inning, Astros leading here inside Safeco Field. We want you to join the conversation for up-to-date game information and live interaction. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Check us out. Stay connected with Root Sports. Juan Nicasio on to work the ninth inning for the Mariners.
44 appearances on the year, a 5.8 ERA, 51 strikeouts over just 4 walks and 40 1/3. Opponent's hitting .301 off Juan Nicasio. Fastball 92 to 96 miles an hour with a slider.
Couple of doubles today for Evan Gattis. Now Gattis runs well for his size, but there will never be any explaining how in 2015 Evan Gattis hit 11 triples. He has hit 12 for his career.
In 2015,
his first year with the Astros, and those guys in Houston are saying, hey, how about this triple sitter?
Well, these days he just hits the ball out of the ballpark. Couple of doubles in today's game.
Off the hands. It's a 3-hit day for Evan Gattis. Leadoff man aboard, nobody out. We take a look at the updated standings, and now the A's are within a half game, which means if this score holds or something close to it, the Mariners and the A's will be tied. Oakland winning today 8-3 the final score at home against the Blue Jays.
You mentioned the month, and we showed the schedule for the Mariners, and they get an opportunity to play the A's on this next road trip. Of course, they'll have Houston again on the road.
Right, one to Gurriel. Two now. And as we look at that schedule, the Blue Jays, of course, come to town tomorrow for a 4-game series. Then it's out of the road, 3 in Arlington, 4 in Houston, and then the big 3-game series against the A's to wrap up the trip. Dodgers come to town, Astros at home again.
And then the Diamondbacks on the road. So it's a difficult schedule this month.
No matter what happens down the final stretch for the Mariners, you can look at the 4-game series not all that long ago, in the end of the first half, between the Astros and the A's. The A's took 3 out of 4 against Houston. That was part of the scalding hot stretch of time for the A's. Not that they've cooled down much, but they have actually lost a series. They were swept in Colorado recently. There goes the bat, and a foul ball as well. But not only did that kind of help propel the A's even further, you can make the case that winning 3 out of 4 against the first place team certainly pushed Billy Beane into buyer mode.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, one of the best relievers on the market, Jeurys Familia, goes from the Mets to the A's. And now Blake Trinan and Jeurys Familia help to make up one of the best back ends of any American League bullpen.
Yeah, it's something that the wild card has provided, Aaron. And when you look at that, things have gone a little bit differently. They were probably a week away from Billy Beane maybe selling part of that club. There's some pretty good veterans on it, so things change quickly in today's game.
Not in time to first. Cat is cut down. Gurriel survives, and it brings up Reddick. And there was some good debate among the fan base during that series. Who should a Mariners fan root for? Right, and these two teams will be playing each other. The Astros and the A's just down the stretch as well. As Reddick climbs in with 1 out and 1 on. The Mariners control their own destiny. They do not need help from someone else.
Well, that is exactly the point. After today, we just showed the schedule. They'll play Houston 7 more times this month, and they have that series in Oakland. So there's an opportunity for them.
I mean, the Mariners
and now,
came
especially now that well, the trade deadline is gone, and yes, you can make trades in August, clearing waivers, but all that stuff is behind them right now, and there's an opportunity there. That's the way you have to look at it.
I mean, at the start of the second half, the Mariners have 13 games left with the Astros. They have 10 games left with the Astros after the series.
And still 10 games with the A's.
So this is not a situation the Mariners have been in recent years, right? Down the final few weeks or month of the season where the Mariners are rooting for this team to knock that team down a couple of pegs.
Yeah.
It's not that situation at all. I mean, the last thing that you wanted was for the A's to believe, both in their clubhouse and in their front office. Reddick.
That's how he hit him on the ankle. Hopefully it was more on that ankle guard. You could hear that up here. Right on the inside corner off the top of his foot. You're going to give him a little bit of time to try to walk that off. See a lot of those guards, and they'll have a piece that will also cover your foot. But some guys don't like to have that extra piece on there. Feel that it bothers them to run with it.
Reddick digs back in. 0-2 the count. And the count stays put.
Right-hander getting loose for Houston. I believe that is Will Harris.
Harris, an all-star a couple of years ago. Now Gurriel staying put. Harris, who has spent some time in recent years as the Astros closer for a little bit. Two out of Reddick, 1 out, 1 on, top of the 9th inning. Vincent, Warren, and Pazos. Then Nicasio all in back of LeBlanc, who went 4 1/3 today. Three-2 to Reddick. 2 on. Here's Max Stassi.
Stassi 1 for 3 with a home run. The home run in the 5th inning, headed out to center field.
Now, we often talk about bloodlines in this game. The Seagers, a good example. Sometimes you have the Griffey situation of father and son, rarely on the same team. But for Stassi, his bloodlines date back a while. His great uncle, Merrill Hogue, I believe it might be better pronounced Merle Hogue.
Okay.
13 big league seasons, and for the first 7 of them, he played alongside Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Joe DiMaggio. So Max Stassi was born to be a big leaguer. This is the point. He and the Babe were pretty tight, and Max and his brothers know all about it. In fact, they have some pretty good old-time Yankee memorabilia.
Really?
Including some team photos with some autographs.
Wow.
Pretty prized framed photos back home in the Stassi household. There was this story that Max shared that he has heard passed down, of course, through the family, and it has to be true. There was an altercation in the showers at Yankee Stadium. Someone barking from the team at Babe Ruth, and Merle Hogue, the great uncle of Stassi, just giving him a right-hand hook right to the face of the showers.
Took exception to it.
Yeah, that's the Babe you're talking to. And from that point forward, Babe Ruth and Max's great uncle were thick as thieves, as you might imagine.
Good friends. Okay.
I swear this is all true. Into center field for a base hit. Gurriel advancing a station. Same story for Redding. One out, the base is full.
Second baseman number 9, Marwin Gonzalez.
Brings up Marwin Gonzalez, who's homered twice today.
Thinking about that memorabilia, I wonder if Max was able to see that stuff when he was younger as a kid and had it all explained. I don't know if it was something that was later on.
Yeah, I think this is
as a young adult.
This is something. This has been in the family for a long time. It's pretty remarkable. As Gonzalez bats with the bases loaded.
Being in the family for a long time, though, and actually being able to pick it up and look at it.
Oh yeah, no, he was raised with it. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
Better way to put it.
Interesting day for Marwin Gonzalez. Hitting right-handed, he's a switch hitter. Hitting right-handed, he has a couple of home runs. Hitting left-handed, there's a couple of strikeouts.
The Astros have been one of the best teams this year batting with the bases loaded. They're hitting .315 as a club. It's the third best average in the majors. The Indians top the pack .378 and the Red Sox. One out, bases loaded. Back towards the booth, and everybody survives. Chris, nicely done.
Now that was impressive, and I'm not sure that it was because you learned something what happened to Dave Sims on our last road trip when he lost a computer. But you shut that computer in a second and almost didn't have time in harm's way, by the way.
Well, I'd rather take one right in the chest than have my laptop taken.
You almost did.
I almost did for sure. Yeah, this has become some pretty good muscle memory on the laptop closing. That one came back real fast.
That was impressive. Now I know from working with Dave a lot in Anaheim, he was more concerned about getting out of harm's way. And his computer paid the price for it. You did not. You went right to the computer.
I could take this off the chops and go another 13 innings.
There's not a chance. There's Dave.
Simsy's down to just the iPad.
Yeah, there he is.
There you go. But see, the problem is I have the laptop, of course, which is a staple, but then I have the iPad scorebook. So you can't really close the iPad. So you certainly should close the laptop right away, and then you just kind of hope for the best for the iPad scorecard. I would fight it away with my Apple Pencil. That's what I would do. That's a nice souvenir.
That was quick reaction. I have to say that was lightning fast.
Well, you know, sometimes you close it.
You did step on my foot, though.
Okay,
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Sometimes
it was almost simultaneous, closing it down and stepping out of the way. Yes.
I think you would agree, Mike, that we wouldn't have heard about Merle Hogue if not for my laptop.
Oh, I would agree.
And so if your big toe is the price to pay, I'm sure you'll give one up for the team. But I will say this, I've closed my laptop quickly many times and the foul ball hasn't really come particularly close. This time I'm glad that my effort was rewarded.
I think it actually hit the monitor. It's to your right.
Well, Chris Taylor, statistician to the Stars.
Did he make the play?
And the best hands of any stats man. With 2 outs to Romine at first base. Yeah, Chris is all over. Looking like the other Chris Taylor. Nicely done. To the bottom of the ninth. The 9th inning. 8-3 Astros. How about tomorrow? Our CenturyLink What's Next? TBA rather for John Gibbons and the Blue Jays. We know this. Felix going for the Mariners. We are on the air at 6:30 with the pregame show. 7:10 our first pitch time as usual.
Having 4 games with Toronto on their way up here to Seattle from Oakland.
And a Players Cast coming our way on Saturday.
Looking forward to that. James Paxton on the mound.
You ready for your no-hitter call?
I think so. I think Dan the man.
Dan's on it?
I think Dan the man, yeah. Will Harris will take over. 44 appearances, a 4.46 ERA, 48 strikeouts, and 38 in the third. Opponents hitting .250 against Will Harris. Cutter curveball. Cutter at 92 miles an hour. Well, I can tell you this, with the way that James pitched against this Houston club, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do on Saturday. That was impressive. 7 innings. He threw 82 pitches in that outing. First starts, he's coming off the disabled list. I think it was 18, 19 days in between starts for him, but it was impressive.
More than you could have hoped for or expected, given the
Scott
layoff.
even said so after.
Yeah.
He was hoping for 5, possibly maybe get him to the 6th, but he was so efficient. And on top of his game, he was able to get through 7 innings on 82 pitches. Ryan Rowland-Smith will also be with us in the booth. I'm pretty sure. I can confirm that he will be wearing the vest
I was
again.
gonna say, there needs to be
the vest will be there.
A fashion standard at all
It
times.
will be Ryan.
Full count. Now, when you do the player cast, Mike, and I've only done one, when you're driving home, you're just shaking your head saying, Sims and Goldsmith, they're just stealing money. Now, what are these guys doing? I just did it, and I've never done it before. Second walk today from Maven. Third time on base.
I would never say that.
Read a promo. Say, this is Cameron Maven. That's outside. When all stuff
Mike,
starts
what do
going,
you think?
Yeah, when things are going crazy, you lay out. You let the star handle it. Don't you think, Mike? It's a great gig. Here's Zanino. A ball, a strike now. Which, by the way, when you think about Saturday night, I don't know if there is a better script that you could have.
I don't think so.
Blue Jays in town. Paxton, a team he, of course, has no hit at Safeco Field. I'm hoping the weather will be nice.
Yeah. Coming off of the start he just had against Houston.
And that is going to be a tremendous night to be at Safeco Field.
Yeah.
Pat Selig looking cool as always in the dugout.
Mike called out on strikes, and he did not like it. He thought that pitch was up out of the strike zone. A couple of high strikes in that at bat. Yeah, that should be a fine night here. And there's James.
All I'm saying, Mike, is don't mess it up. Yeah, Mr. Baseball is in the dugout. Underrated baseball movie, by the way. And steps Heredia.
Well, bottom line, Aaron, is it's supposed to be fun, and I think that Dan and Ryan and myself will have some fun watching some baseball.
Just don't mess it up, Mike.
I'm not concerned about that.
Play loose. And Scott Service would say, don't try hard.
Gotcha. I'll let you know if you're needed on Sunday.
Aaron, why don't you just stay home?
I was Pawtucket. There you go.
Into right field. One out, two on. Comes Mariners first baseman Andrew Romine. Some lower back tightness for Ryan Healy, and late scratch today.
Yeah, hopefully they'll calm that down and get him back in the lineup tomorrow. Guillermo with a couple of hits this afternoon. That's a good sign.
Gurriel down to Bregman on first, not in time with Harris covering. 2 outs. Maven in at third, a leadoff walk is how he got on base.
Third baseman number 6, Zach Vinci.
Oh, with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning, Zach Vinci, who has picked up a couple of hits today.
Romine originally in the lineup at third base, and with Healy scratch, he moved over to first, and Vinci, someone that was probably relaxing just minutes before the game when he was told that he would get the start at third, but picked up a couple of hits.
Seager will be back tomorrow from the paternity list. That's why Vinci was originally called up. 2 outs, 2 on. The 0-2. Now Maven stays put at third. Meanwhile, Romine into second.
That was a wild pitch.
Felix tomorrow, Marco on Friday, Paxton Saturday night, as we talked about, Leak on Sunday. Final 4 games of this homestand against the Blue Jays. Holds back on the check swing, 2-2. Betsy was a fantastic shortstop in his college days at Pepperdine. Drafted by the Reds. First year with the Mariners. That ends the ball game as the Astros win game 2. They win game 3. 8-3 the final score. They take the series.
Yeah, disappointing that the Mariners weren't able to take the series. It was evened up. You have this day game today, and they had a real chance here, but the opportunity game, we've talked about it. They still have 7 more games with Houston in this month, and of course the 3 coming up with Oakland, who won today on this next road trip. So hopefully they have a good series against Toronto, who will be in town for 4 games.
Mariners postgame presented by Alaska Airlines begins right now. Bill Brad, it's all yours.
Well, Aaron and Mike, thank you very much. As the Astros celebrate another series win here at Safeco Field, back-to-back 15-hit games for them. Gonzalez leaves the yard twice. Astros with 4 home runs today. And Bill, when you look at the series, 3 players missing for Houston. If you count Cano, 3 players out for Seattle today, and just not enough offense. We talked about it July. We start August the same way. Just 7 runs in the 3-game series against Houston. You're not going to win a lot of games that way.
And this is a major problem. It's been a problem for clubs that are playing Houston. They have premier pitching. It showed up again in this series. The Mariners were able to capitalize on 1 or 2 bad pitches from Garrett Cole. But outside of that, Charlie Morton was super tough. And today they had Keuchel on the ropes in the 2nd. Couldn't do anything with him. And he cruises into the 7th. So Mariner offense has to figure it out. Yeah, they're missing some people. And they're waiting like heck for Cano. But they're going to have to start tallying a little bit better.
And again, they'll be facing Houston again next weekend. A big road trip, Texas, Houston, and Oakland. Now 3-6 against the Stros. And the Stros do it again without their 3 All-Stars, but do it with the long ball today and winning this series. 4 home runs accounts for 7 of the 8 runs. Again, Gonzalez going deep twice. Marisnik just up from AAA. He homers. That fan didn't want the souvenir, though. Throws it right back. And Stassi, a 3-run shot. Astros win at 8-3. Mariners postgame presented by Alaska Airlines on the way.